The day my daughter Lily died, my wife was at her lover's house. When she returned, she knelt before me, crying and full of remorse. But just a few days later, she started badgering me to have another child. A month later, she really did get pregnant. Yet, after the baby was born, I was suddenly rushed to the emergency room, only to later discover it was all a conspiracy between her and her lover, Lily. Lily, please wake up and look at Dad, okay? Lily, don't scare your father. Hot tears streamed endlessly from my eyes, and a knife-like pain ruthlessly consumed my body. My wife beside me could no longer stand. She was curled on the floor, silently weeping. My parents, unable to bear the shock of their granddaughter's sudden death, had already fainted and been rushed to the emergency room. Daniel Thompson, in his white coat, helped Natalie Rivers up from the floor. He patted my shoulder. Ethan, I am so sorry for your loss. None of us wanted this tragedy to happen, but you have to be strong. Your family needs you to hold things together. Don't let Lily worry about you. I struggled to let go. Allowing the funeral home to take Lily's body away, Natalie Rivers finally burst into tears, repeatedly calling out, Lily, Lily. As the hearse drove further away, I slumped onto a chair, clutching the death certificate issued by the hospital. What a warm summer afternoon it had been. Yet I had lost my daughter forever. Tears dripped onto the thin paper that declared the end of my daughter's life, blurring the ink. The cause of death stated, death by falling from a high-rise building. How could this be? Lily was so afraid of heights. How could she have fallen from the building? I clenched my fist and looked at Natalie Rivers. Natalie, how did Lily die? Natalie Rivers covered her face in agony. I don't know. I really don't know. I felt a bit unwell and wanted to go downstairs to ask Daniel Thompson something. The window was open for ventilation, and I thought I'd be back in a few minutes, so I didn't close it. Who knew Lily would fall? As she spoke, Natalie Rivers knelt before me, slapping herself repeatedly across the face. I am so sorry, husband, it's all my fault. If I hadn't gone out, Lily wouldn't have gotten hurt. Husband, just kill me. Let me go be with Lily. I don't want to live anymore anyway. I helped Natalie Rivers up and held her in my arms. I couldn't bring myself to blame my wife. With our daughter gone, she was grieving just as much as I was. Even though she was often very strict with Lily, Daniel Thompson was right. I had to hold on. I was a man, and I still had my wife and parents to take care of. After Lily's funeral, Natalie Rivers and I sat blankly on the sofa at home. Daniel Thompson, along with his wife Grace Thompson, had been with us these past few days. Daniel Thompson was Natalie Rivers' high school classmate. I knew they'd had a brief relationship, but after Daniel Thompson went to medical school, and they started a long-distance relationship, they broke up not long after. Then I met Natalie Rivers, who was a junior at the time. It was love at first sight for me, and after I pursued her, she agreed to be my girlfriend. Later, we got married and had Lily. Daniel Thompson sent us his best wishes for every important occasion, and over time, he became a mutual friend. I wasn't a petty man. I fully understood my wife's innocent first love in her youth, so I never held a grudge against Daniel Thompson. I even introduced him to the apartment downstairs from us, and our two families often had meals together. They didn't have any children yet and had always adored Lily as if she were their own. On the day Lily had her accident, Daniel Thompson was on vacation at home, but he still went to the hospital with Natalie Rivers. I was grateful. Daniel, thank you both. You and Grace should go home and rest now. We'll be fine. After seeing Daniel Thompson and his wife out, I stood by the window. When I returned home that day, the window was open, and Lily's little stool was overturned by the windowsill. When she fell, she was still holding a small rag in her hand. She was so considerate. Despite being so afraid of heights, she was still thinking of helping her unwell mother clean the room, 15 floors up. How terrified my precious girl must have been when she fell. Natalie Rivers hugged me from behind. We huddled together, sobbing uncontrollably. In just a few days, both my wife and I had lost a lot of weight, but life had to go on. We encouraged each other to be strong. Natalie Rivers packed all of Lily's things into boxes and ran into me at the door just as I was coming home from work. Natalie, where are you going? Natalie Rivers looked down at the box in her hands, stray hairs falling to obscure her red eyes. I want to throw these things away. It's too painful to look at them. Seeing my fragile wife, I took the box from her. I'll do it, by the trash can. I hesitated for a long time. I couldn't bear to part with these mementos. They were proof that Lily had existed in this world. If I threw them away, what else would I have to feel her presence? I turned around and put the box in the car's trunk. Natalie couldn't handle the emotional stress right now. I'd bring them back once she came to terms with things a bit more. I didn't sleep well that night, half asleep, half awake. I kept feeling that Lily was still here. Daddy. Daddy. I seemed to hear Lily calling me, but when I opened my eyes, there was only darkness. Natalie Rivers wasn't asleep either. She turned over and hugged me. Ethan. Let's have another baby. I pulled the blanket over her. Let's wait. I am really not in the mood right now. Natalie Rivers seemed possessed these past few days, constantly bringing up having another child, but I couldn't let go of Lily. I was afraid if we had a new baby, Lily would be jealous and unhappy, but Natalie Rivers was on the verge of breaking down. She often paced around the room or just stared blankly out the window, her face so pale that I couldn't help but worry about her mental state. That night, she sat on top of me, wearing a white, almost transparent nightgown. She held me tightly, her fervent kisses raining down on my body, guiding my hand to herself. I tried to push her away, but she cried in my arms, her tears soaking my shirt, her words burning into my heart. Ethan, I keep dreaming of Lily. She blames me for not taking good care of her. I begged her to give mommy another chance. I really want a baby. I want Lily to come back to us. Husband, please. This time, I gave in. A heavy cloud hung over our home every day. Perhaps having another child would ease Natalie's and my parents' hearts a little. I hugged Natalie Rivers back, turned off the light, and gently kissed her. A month later, Natalie Rivers threw herself into my arms. Husband, I am pregnant. I looked at the pregnancy test in her hand. It was indeed positive. I hadn't expected it to happen so easily. I stared blankly at Natalie Rivers. She touched my face, crying tears of joy. I knew Lily would forgive mommy. This time, mommy will give you everything best. I called my parents and told them the good news. They were overjoyed, and our home finally had laughter again after so long. Natalie Rivers took this pregnancy very seriously, even walking as if she feared bumping into something. Her excessive nervousness made her prone to paranoia. Husband, why don't we move to a different house? What if this house isn't very lucky? I refused her many times. I couldn't bear to leave this place. After all, this was where Lily grew up. Later, I told her, there's no hurry. You're pregnant, and if you feel unwell, Daniel Thompson and Grace can help out. Only then did she give up the idea of moving. But during her late pregnancy, she slipped and fell. The baby was born a little earlier than expected. But fortunately, she was still very healthy. This baby was also a girl, and she looked very much like Lily. They both resembled their mother so much. I named the child Mia, wishing her peace and safety. The arrival of the new life didn't lift me from my gloom. Not a single day had passed when I forgot Lily. There was only increasing longing. Mia was wonderful, but she was her own person, a completely new and independent life. I never treated her as a replacement for Lily. Fortunately, Natalie Rivers' mood palpably improved. The arrival of this child occupied her entire attention. She stayed by Mia's side constantly, unable to tear her gaze away. I understood she was afraid of anything happening to Mia, but sometimes I couldn't help but feel a pang of injustice for Lily, from birth until her death. Natalie Rivers had never paid that much attention to her. I looked up at the sky. It's okay, Daddy will never forget you. I still slept restlessly at night. I initially thought it was because I had to care for Mia after she was born, but recently, I was dreaming of Lily more and more frequently. Daddy. Daddy, save Lily. Daddy. Mommy. Mommy. I opened my eyes, sat up abruptly, and ran to the living room window, shouting Lily's name. Natalie Rivers rushed out, blocking me, and pulling at my arm. Ethan Rivers, what's gotten into you? Stop making so much noise. Mia's still sleeping. I shook off her hand. How can you forget Lily so quickly? The thoughts that had been accumulating in my heart for so long finally burst out. I gripped Natalie Rivers' shoulders, staring intently at her. Did you love her? In my dream, Lily stood on the stool by the window, leaning out. She seemed to be reaching for something, then fell out of control. The incredibly vivid image replayed constantly before my eyes, making it impossible to distinguish whether I was seeing a dream or reality. I covered my face and collapsed to the floor. I am sorry, Natalie. I dreamed of Lily again. She fell right in front of me. She wanted me to save her. She seemed to have something to tell me, but I was too late. Natalie Rivers knelt beside me, stroking my back reassuringly. "Don't think about it anymore, don't we have Mia?" I couldn't understand how she could act as if Lily had never existed now that we had a new child. A chill seemed to sweep through my heart, and I shivered. Finally waking from the dream, in the dark, my gaze was piercing, fixed directly on Natalie Rivers' face. She nervously turned her head away to avoid my eyes, and stood up. "I'll go check on Mia. I finally got her to sleep. Don't let her be startled awake by you." I reached out and grabbed her arm. "Was Lily calling out to you that day?" She froze, unmoving. After a long moment, she stiffly turned her head to look at me. "Did she call out Mommy? Did you really not hear her calling you?" I stood up, caressing Natalie Rivers' cheek, and asked in a low voice, "How exactly did Lily die?" Natalie Rivers slapped me across the face. "Ethan Rivers, are you crazy? Are you suspecting me? She was my daughter too." With that, she flung me off, and entered the room. I stood rooted to the spot, unable to compose myself for a long time. I laughed mockingly. Natalie Rivers was right. She was her daughter too. I shouldn't have suspected her. But some thoughts, once they appear, don't disappear easily, even if you've denied them 1,000 times in your heart. I found it increasingly strange. Lily's fear of heights was severe. She wouldn't even dare to jump off the sofa, even though she was usually very considerate and would proactively help Dad and Mom tidy the room. She had never said she wanted to clean the windows. She didn't dare to climb windows, and she rarely even stood by the window, always needing us to be with her. How could it be such a coincidence that she went to clean the windows by herself that day? I sat on the sofa, holding my head. I couldn't figure it out. There must have been something I missed. The sound of the doorbell pulled me out of my thoughts. I got up to open the door. It was Grace Thompson. "Ethan, are you home alone?" "Where's Natalie?" she asked, walking in with a cake. "She's out with Mia." "Why?" "Nothing. I just thought she wouldn't have time to eat properly while looking after the baby at home, so I brought her something." I took the items and thanked her, poured her a glass of water, and offered her a seat. "No thanks. I got off work early today, and need to rush back to make dinner. Daniel has one more surgery before he comes home." Grace Thompson was a nurse, but she didn't work at the same hospital as Daniel Thompson. Perhaps because of her profession, she was usually very meticulous. Just as I was about to see Grace Thompson out, I called out to her, "Grace, I am sorry to bother you, but I wanted to ask something. Were you home the day Lily died?" Grace Thompson turned back, looking at me quizzically. "I was at the hospital that day. Why?" I shook my head, my voice thick with emotion. "I just keep feeling something is off. How could Lily suddenly be gone?" She sighed and said comfortingly, "The dead cannot be resurrected if you keep tormenting yourself like this. Lily wouldn't be happy to see it. I'll go back and ask Daniel for you." Grace Thompson told me that Daniel Thompson had just finished his night shift that day. Natalie Rivers came downstairs and knocked on his door, saying she felt dizzy and couldn't catch her breath. Daniel Thompson invited her in to sit down, and was looking for medication for her when, shortly after, they heard someone downstairs shouting to call the police. They looked down and saw that a child had fallen. Natalie Rivers rushed back home, opened the door, saw Lily wasn't in the room, and then ran downstairs only to see that it was indeed Lily who had fallen. Did Daniel Thompson hear Lily calling for her mom? Grace Thompson shook her head. He didn't say anything about that. "Ethan, you're overthinking this. Even if Lily did call for her mom, it would be normal. Yes, that was her mother." I nodded. Maybe I really was overthinking. Suddenly, a feeling of tightness in my chest came over me. I clutched my chest, my vision went black, and I collapsed to the floor. When I woke up again, I was in the hospital. Grace Thompson had called 911 and had me brought to the hospital where she worked. She stood by my bedside with my parents. "Ethan, you're awake. How do you feel?" "I am fine, thank you." The doctor said my cardiac reaction was due to emotional factors. My parents insisted I get a full body checkup to have every possible test done. "Ethan, your mom and I are old. We can't handle a second blow. Natalie Rivers is still at home taking care of the baby, waiting for you. What would we do if you collapsed?" I looked at my parents' graying hair and agreed. After the checks were done, I was discharged. I couldn't keep dwelling in grief. They all still needed me. Natalie Rivers opened the door for me, holding Mia, feeling better. I nodded, reaching out to take Mia. Natalie Rivers hesitated for a moment but then handed the baby to me. "You've worked hard, Natalie. I'll reduce my work hours in the future and spend more time with you all." She smiled softly. We tacitly moved past our previous argument. That evening, I invited Daniel Thompson and Grace Thompson over for dinner. In the past few days I'd been ill. They had helped us quite a bit. Daniel Thompson was particularly fond of Mia, holding her tightly and unwilling to let go. Even Grace Thompson jokingly said, as if jealous, "Looks like another girl, Dad. I wonder if he'll still have eyes for me once we have our own kids." Daniel Thompson quickly handed Mia to Natalie Rivers, then placated Grace Thompson. I smiled, looking at them. "Daniel will definitely be a good father someday." Daniel Thompson nodded with absolute certainty, "Of course." Grace Thompson chuckled, but only Natalie Rivers kept her head down, holding Mia, and said nothing. After putting Mia to sleep that night, I thought again of how Daniel Thompson had been so reluctant to let go of the baby. Daniel really does like Mia a lot. Natalie Rivers was turned away from me, engrossed in her phone, only giving a soft millimeters in response. After a long while, when I was almost asleep, Natalie Rivers finally spoke softly. "Actually, when it comes to being a good father, Daniel Thompson isn't as good as you." I closed my eyes, filled with self-doubt. Was I a qualified father? Clearly not. I hadn't protected Lily, and I hadn't been able to give my wholehearted love to Mia. No matter how I looked at it, I was a terrible failure. I gave a bitter laugh. "Natalie, are you trying to comfort me?" Natalie Rivers turned around and looked at me with extreme seriousness. I rarely saw such an expression on her face. "I am very serious. Daniel Thompson is too self-centered and lacks a sense of responsibility. Children are just disposable to him. But different, Ethan. It truly suited to be a father." Our lives gradually returned to normal. To truly become a good father, I consciously started setting aside more time to be with Mia as she grew. Natalie Rivers also stopped focusing all her attention on the baby. Occasionally, she would make plans with friends to go shopping or have dinner, and seeing her mood improve, I was happy too. However, it seemed Daniel Thompson and Grace Thompson were having some problems recently. Every time I saw Grace Thompson, I felt she had changed entirely. She no longer smiled much, started speaking less, and exuded an air of gloom. As a friend, I had asked her a couple of times with concern, but she just looked down and said she was fine. That night, Daniel Thompson and Grace Thompson downstairs seemed to be arguing and throwing things. The noise was so loud that even Mia, who was asleep, woke up, pouting and crying. Natalie Rivers held Mia in her arms, and gently comforted her for a long time. Before Mia finally fell back asleep, she gently patted Mia and looked up at me. "See, they are not as loving as they make themselves out to be." I found Natalie Rivers a bit strange. Her lips were clearly smiling, yet at that moment, her gentle face seemed to carry a hint of mockery. I didn't know how to respond, so I just told her, "What couple doesn't argue? Don't overthink it." The next day, when I ran into Grace Thompson in the elevator again, her eyes were red and swollen, clearly from crying. "Grace, do you need any help?" Grace Thompson remained silent for a long time, then shook her head. I had to go to work, thinking that in a few days I could ask Natalie to mediate between them. But I hadn't gone far when Grace Thompson called out to me, "Ethan." I turned back to look at her. "What if your partner cheated on you?" I froze. What did Grace Thompson mean? Had Daniel Thompson cheated? Before I could speak, Grace Thompson laughed. "I am just kidding. Ethan, go to work now." "I am fine." She waved at me. I couldn't press her further, so I just said goodbye and left. But that afternoon, Grace Thompson called. "Ethan, do you have time? Your medical report is out. I am near your office, so I can drop it off on my way. Is that convenient for you?" I met her at the coffee shop downstairs from my office. When she saw me, she handed me the medical report. "The doctor said you should get further tests when you have time. Since it involves your privacy, I didn't ask for specifics. You can take a look yourself." I took it, asking, "Is it that serious?" I chuckled as I opened the medical report. To be honest, I didn't take it too seriously. I was still young, always healthy, and had never suffered from any major illness before. The last time I had chest tightness, the doctor said it was due to emotional factors. After being discharged, I hadn't felt any other discomfort in my body, and I'd almost forgotten that I'd even had a full body checkup. I carefully flipped through page after page. All the initial tests were normal. I was clearly healthy, with no apparent issues. But when I saw the last page, My smile vanished. A few short words on the page stuck my eyes. I checked repeatedly, but my name was indeed there, and I hadn't misread the words. But this was utterly absurd, almost turning my world upside down. I looked up and asked Grace Thompson, "Are you sure this is my test result? There's no mistake, is there? Azoospermia, this is ridiculous. I've had 2 children already." Grace Thompson saw my rigid expression, and couldn't help but become nervous herself. "Is there a big problem?" "I am not sure yet. I'll go get retested another day and then we'll see." I went to a different hospital, but they gave me the same result, Mr. Rivers. "According to the tests, your azoospermia is caused by congenital absence of the vas deferens. This means that your vas deferens didn't develop during your congenital development, so sperm cannot be ejaculated. If you wish to have children, you could try a testicular biopsy followed by artificial insemination, but the success rate isn't very high." I repeatedly confirmed with the doctor, "There's absolutely no possibility of my wife conceiving naturally with me, is that correct?" "That's right." I don't know how I walked out of that hospital. If I was infertile, then whose children were Lily and Mia? I returned home, utterly devastated. Mia saw me in Natalie Rivers' arms, and reached out for me to hold her. Dada. She was almost able to say Daddy. I held Mia in my arms, carefully studying her face. I could only find Natalie Rivers' features in her appearance, and none of my own. However, Mia did resemble a friend I knew very well, Daniel Thompson. Connecting this to Daniel Thompson and Grace Thompson's recent conflicts and Natalie Rivers' veiled mockery, all these inconsistencies, I couldn't suspect any other man but Daniel Thompson. I stroked Mia's head and discreetly hid a few strands of her hair in my hand. Besides Mia, there was also Lily. I made an excuse about needing to work overtime at the company and left home. From the car's trunk, I retrieved the long-forgotten box and found Lily's baby hair, which I had kept. I dialed Grace Thompson's number. "Grace, when do you have time? Can we meet somewhere?" The car pulled over to the side of the road. I spoke to Grace Thompson. "Grace, what did you mean last time when you said your partner cheated?" Grace Thompson seemed surprised by my question and remained silent for a long time. "I am certain Natalie Rivers cheated. As for who it was with, I think you can probably guess." Grace Thompson clenched her fists, her nails almost digging into her palms. "It was Daniel Thompson, wasn't it?" Grace Thompson had accidentally discovered Daniel Thompson's affair. That day, a colleague had swapped shifts with her at the last minute. She was planning to go to the supermarket before heading home, but saw Daniel Thompson in the distance, embracing a woman outside the mall. They even kissed, but the distance was too great, and Daniel Thompson was blocking her view, so she couldn't clearly see the woman's face. By the time she tried to catch up, she had already lost them. After she returned home, they had many heated arguments. Daniel Thompson flat out denied it, but Grace Thompson was certain she hadn't been mistaken. He said I was paranoid, and told me not to cause trouble during his crucial promotion period. Grace Thompson wiped away her tears. "How did you find out?" I showed her my diagnosis report, laughing self-deprecatingly at her shocked expression. "Neither of my 2 daughters are mine." "Grace, can you help me? I need a paternity test. Can you get me some of Daniel Thompson's hair?" Grace Thompson agreed. She asked a colleague to expedite the test for me, and once the results were out, she sent me a photo. I looked at the conclusion at the bottom, stating in black and white, "Supports biological father." Just as I suspected, I had been fooled like an idiot by Natalie Rivers and Daniel Thompson for all these years. I decided to get a divorce, and so did Grace Thompson. After I got home, I wanted to talk to Natalie Rivers calmly, trying to avoid making a scene. After all these years of marriage, we should part amicably. Natalie Rivers brought me a glass of milk. "Ethan, you don't look well. Drink some milk and go to bed early. I want to talk to you." She pressed the glass into my hand. "You should rest first. We can talk about it tomorrow." "I am going to be with Mia." It was true there was no rush tonight. I nodded, drank a few sips of milk, and quickly fell asleep. "Daddy. Lily is scared. But Mommy is calling me from downstairs. I want to see Mommy, Daddy." I heard so much from the fall. Blinding white light shone into my eyes. Cold tubes were inserted into my stomach, and various machines were connected to my body. Doctors and nurses surrounded me. It took 2 days in the emergency room for me to gradually regain consciousness. Natalie Rivers stood by my bedside, holding Mia. "Ethan, you're awake. How do you feel?" "What happened to me?" "Cardiac arrest. your phone kept ringing, but I couldn't wake you up. I knew very well that there was nothing wrong with my heart. Before I lost consciousness, the only thing I had touched was the glass of milk Natalie Rivers had brought me. A wave of chill surged from the bottom of my heart. My intuition told me that Natalie Rivers was definitely involved in Lily's death, and she even wanted to kill me. I fumbled around. Where's my phone? Natalie Rivers handed me my phone. When did you change the password? Ethan, can't we just live a good life as a family of 3? We can move away, far from Grace Thompson, okay? Don't you want me anymore, or our daughter? What was she talking about? What did this have to do with Grace Thompson? My WhatsApp buzzed. Grace Thompson had sent a photo, several empty glass medicine bottles, and a few lines of text. Daniel Thompson and Grace Thompson drugged you. Daniel Thompson has fled. IVE already called the police. If you wake up, be careful. Natalie Rivers tried to snatch my phone. Was that Grace Thompson? Did you cheat on me? I dodged her and looked up at Natalie Rivers, finding her utterly ridiculous. Are you accusing me of your own betrayal? Weren't you the one who cheated? You even tried to kill me. Natalie Rivers, whose children are they? Recalling the scene from my dream, I couldn't help but cry out, screaming, how did Lily die? Natalie Rivers visibly panicked. It seemed she knew some things could no longer be hidden. Her legs gave way, and she slumped to the side, holding Mia. You know. Lily told you. I knew that little bitch would tell you. But I was too late. I really should have let her die sooner. Natalie Rivers seemed to have gone insane, rambling incoherently about what had happened before. She and Daniel Thompson had rekindled their old flame before my wedding. The passionate love of their youth returned, but Daniel Thompson was already married to Grace Thompson, and she couldn't bear to leave me, who was gentle and caring, so she maintained a secret relationship with Daniel Thompson. The day before the accident, Lily woke up from her nap, opened her bedroom door, and saw Natalie Rivers disheveled, passionately intimate with Daniel Thompson. It was Lily calling out mommy that made her push Daniel Thompson away. Afterward, she worried Lily would tell me about seeing her affair, and she was distraught all day. She could only ask Daniel Thompson what to do. Daniel Thompson had always despised Lily because she was my daughter, so he casually said, only dead men tell no tales. At Daniel Thompson's instigation, she told Lily to help her clean the window. While she herself hid by the window downstairs, she repeatedly called out to Lily, telling her to reach out and hand her the rag. Finally, 5-year-old Lily fell out, a perfect accident, but a few days later, she surprisingly discovered she was pregnant. During that period, I was busy with work and would collapse into bed as soon as I got home, so the child could only be Daniel Thompson's. So, to cover it up, she pestered me for that one time. I am sorry, Ethan, I was blinded by obsession. Daniel Thompson is too terrifying, and by the time I regretted it, it was too late. Our Lily is gone. How about I have another one for you? If you don't like Mia, I'll send her away. Ethan, please don't leave me. I scoffed and laughed coldly. Who told you Lily was my daughter? Lily is your daughter. I am absolutely sure. Really? I showed her the DNA test results on my phone. Lily and Mia are both Daniel Thompson's daughters. I have a zoospermia. I can't have children at all. Natalie Rivers froze. Impossible, it can't be. I was drunk the day before the wedding, but Daniel Thompson said he didn't touch me. You must be lying to me. Lily is your daughter. I said nothing. Natalie Rivers finally burst into tears. So I was mistaken. Lily didn't have to die, did she? Daniel Thompson killed his own child. I looked at her with cold eyes. It wasn't just Daniel Thompson who killed Lily, it was you too. You both killed your own child. You couldn't bear to lose me, but you also didn't want to let go of Daniel Thompson, so you sacrificed Lily. Natalie Rivers, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Yes, wanting to have it all, and in the end, she got nothing. I closed my eyes, thinking of Lily's adorable face. Even though she wasn't my flesh and blood, she truly called me daddy for 5 years and gave me 5 years of joy. The children are innocent. In this farce, Lily was the biggest victim. Natalie Rivers, turn yourself in, Natalie Rivers cried, shaking her head vigorously. I can't turn myself in. It was all Daniel Thompson forcing me. He forced me to kill Lily. He forced me to drug you. I didn't want to. She knelt before me, weeping uncontrollably, just like the day Lily died, begging for my forgiveness. Even if I could choose not to pursue the matter of her drugging me, I couldn't choose to forgive this woman, who had killed Lily on her behalf. That wouldn't be fair to Lily. Ethan, Lily wasn't your daughter, she's dead, so she's dead. But I still saved you. If I hadn't been soft-hearted and called the ambulance, you'd be dead already. I can't live without you. I finally lost my temper, using all my strength to slap her. Natalie Rivers. Are you even human? For 5 years, I was the one who held Lily as she grew up. It was me she called daddy again and again. In my heart, she was my daughter. I wasn't born knowing how to be a father. Lily's birth taught me how to be one. Children are born loving their parents. Lily gave me her love without reservation, and the happiness she brought me was real. So even if she wasn't my biological child, I still loved her. I dialed 911. Natalie Rivers, you should spend the rest of your life repenting in prison. Natalie Rivers clutched Mia tightly in her arms. She burst into maniacal laughter. Repent. She stood up and ran to the window. I'll pay with my life for hers. I couldn't stop her in time. She had already opened the window, and holding Mia, jumped without hesitation. Lily, Mommy's bringing your sister to be with you. The sound of sirens grew closer. I leaned on the windowsill, unable to process what had happened for a long time. A 15th floor hospital room, the same height from which Lily had fallen. Lily wouldn't want to see you, I murmured aloud, after I was discharged from the hospital. I met with Grace Thompson. She had already filed for divorce. Daniel Thompson had been arrested by the police not long ago for instigating murder and stealing anesthetic drugs. He would spend the rest of his life in prison. Grace Thompson said that day she had gone home intending to directly ask for a divorce, but Daniel Thompson wasn't there. His jacket had fallen to the floor, and when Grace Thompson picked it up, she heard the sound of glass clinking in the pocket. She pulled them out to look. Ketamine, a colorless, odorless anesthetic drug, 5 empty vials in total. Anesthetic drugs aren't supposed to be taken out of the hospital freely. She didn't know what Daniel Thompson had used them for, but she felt incredibly uneasy. Just then, ambulance sirens wailed. The elevator stopped on the 15th floor, and she ran out. Seeing me being carried onto a stretcher, she grabbed Natalie Rivers, asking what had happened. Natalie Rivers simply said I'd had a heart attack, but Natalie Rivers' evasive manner made her suspicious, especially since she knew my medical exam results showed a perfectly healthy heart. The white foam at the corners of my mouth, and my bluish-purple complexion were clearly not symptoms of a heart attack. Grace Thompson gripped the pill bottle in her hand and called the police. During police questioning, Daniel Thompson confessed that he had stolen the medication from the hospital, and given it to Natalie Rivers to add to my food and drink. He had already tried to drug Grace Thompson, but only in small doses, making it difficult to detect. He hadn't expected Grace Thompson to realize he was cheating, but at a crucial point in his career, with a promotion on the line, he couldn't afford to get rid of Grace Thompson, so he told Natalie Rivers to kill me first, and once the dust settled, they would increase Grace Thompson's dosage. Then the two of them could be together, free from worry. After Daniel Thompson handed the anesthetic to Natalie Rivers, he went into hiding. No one knew where he was. Eventually, Natalie Rivers couldn't find Daniel Thompson. She got scared and called an ambulance. Fortunately, I hadn't drunk much of that milk, which was why I was able to be saved. It turned out the anesthetic wasn't just used on me. Grace Thompson had been drugged too. After Daniel Thompson was apprehended, she also went for a checkup. Luckily, it was discovered in time, and her life wasn't in danger. We all thought we had grown exceptionally strong, yet throughout our lives, we couldn't even see the true face of the person lying next to us. I went to the prison to see Daniel Thompson. He looked much more gaunt. When he saw me, he smiled. Ethan Rivers, what are you doing here? How does it feel to raise my child after your own daughter died? That bitch Natalie Rivers seamlessly moved on to you right after breaking up with me. Then she was about to marry you, and still tried to seduce me. I told her to kill Lily, and to kill you, and she didn't hesitate for a second. She doesn't love you at all. Daniel Thompson frantically pounded on the glass. It's all your fault. If you hadn't shown up, she would have waited for me. She would have married me and had my children. You stole what was mine. So your daughter deserved to die. No one had told him the truth. Everyone had tacitly left that opportunity for me. I placed the paternity test results on the table. Daniel Thompson, Lily is your child. You killed your own daughter. Natalie Rivers was right about one thing. You truly don't deserve to be a father. I stood up and left, without looking back. The next day, Grace Thompson told me that Daniel Thompson had committed suicide in prison by swallowing a spoon. They thought that by dying, they could atone for the sins they had committed, but some sins simply don't deserve forgiveness. Later, I resigned from my job, planning to move my parents to a scenic place, with a pleasant climate for their retirement. Before I left, I went to see Lily. I placed fresh flowers before her tombstone, and stood there in silence for a long time. Before leaving, I bent down and gently caressed Lily's photograph. Lily, Dad-I's leaving now. If there's a next life, please be Dad-I's daughter again. Daddy will be waiting for you. In the photo, the little girl with pigtails was smiling brightly. A gentle breeze brushed across my face, as if giving me an answer. Lily would surely say, "Okay."